We'll bring you more on that, but let's get deeper into this conversation. What played out in Adamawa State left a lot of people befuddled, and the question on the minds of a lot of people is how do we remedy what happened such that we don't record such embarrassing situation as some have described it yet again. And we're joined by the Executive Director of YIAGA Africa, Mr. Samson Itodo. He joins us virtually on the program this afternoon. Thank you for joining us on the program. I know you have been monitoring this particular election. Well, yes, you started off with the general elections, but for this one, all eyes were on this particular election because of the peculiarities. And seeing what played out, I wonder how you're internalizing it, particularly what lessons should we learn from this election so we don't keep repeating the same things again?
Well, thanks, Coyote. In case my network messes up, just know that I'm in transit. But I'd say there's a lot of lesson, to be learned on this particular case. The first lesson that I think we need to learn is the fact that our politicians are desperate. They want to secure political power at all costs and are not ready to play by the rules of the game. And this culture of impunity is something that we need to address. And this is why, the actions taken by INEC on the gross misconduct on the part of, the resident electoral commissioner needs to be commended. But INEC needs to go beyond that to ensure that this rec is not only suspended or investigated, but he's removed from office. And I'm quite happy with some of the actions that INEC has taken. The second, critical lesson is that institutions can work, institutions can function if politicians do not put these institutions under pressure. Because you look at what happened, with the Adamawa case. The fact that INEC responded swiftly clearly shows that INEC does have the power. INEC knows what is the right thing to do in a situation where its staff, attempts to unacceptable. But INEC, nullified that illegal declaration, but has also written letters. We hope INEC can also extend the same action to other resident electoral commissioners who undermined the process during the presidential election, as well as the governorship election. The third critical lesson to learn from this particular process is that the Inspector General of Police, responded swiftly by redeploying, the police commissioner who was present when, the resident electoral commissioner committed that criminal. But I think that the IG needs to also learn or borrow a leaf from what the actions INEC has taken by not only redeploying the commissioner of police, but thoroughly investigating the extent of his involvement, as well as taking disciplinary actions. And I hope that the Police Service Commission can also step into this and hold the police commissioners for account. I think that we must also went to the court to secure an ex parte order. But I love what the justice did by requesting the counsel to present a written address. And that's a tactical judicial intervention. Because if that judge were compromised, he would have granted that order and that would have disrupted this entire process. So I'm quite delighted. And so the judiciary, the police, as well as INEC can see that when they take actions, that boost the confidence of voters, especially when there are remedial actions to address deviant behavior on the part of political stakeholders, it can inspire a lot of confidence on the minds of Nigerians.
Well, Samson, this had been predicted in some sense. I recall last year where CSOs came together and raised concerns about the nomination and eventual appointment of 19 commissioners for INEC. And, there were names mentioned. Well, his name was not mentioned in some of those names that people thought there were questions around their affiliations, whether or not they were apolitical and all of that. So some will say we saw this coming, but I see that connection is jerky, and this is a conversation we really need to have. So I'll just let you go for now so you can settle down, but this is a conversation we need to have such that we take a look at areas that we maybe dropped the ball and ensure that we, plug those loopholes so we don't have to repeat this again. But I have to thank you so much for at least, shedding some light on this and maybe whetting our appetite so we can have this conversation in the coming days. Samson Itodo is Executive Director of YIAGA Africa. He had to join us in transit just to show how important this conversation is. Thank you again, Samson, for joining us. I will definitely continue this conversation.